In this video, we're going to try our hand at creating equivalent fractions. So before we create any, let's just remind ourselves what equivalent fractions are. In this diagram here, you can see that 1/3 is equivalent to 2/6, and we said the reason for that is because they both cover up the same amount of the overall figure, but they're divided up into different pieces. So we said the 1/3. How do we get from the 1 to the 2? Right, we doubled the top number, and 3 to 6, we doubled the bottom number, so we multiply both numerator and denominator by the same number, and that makes this an equivalent fraction. To get from 2/6, we also said that was equivalent to 4/12, and that's because 2 times 2 is 4 and 6 times 2 is 12, so they were both multiplied by the same number, so those two are equivalent fractions. All right. So let's see now if we can create a couple of equivalent fractions. All right. Let's start with, for example, let's take 2/3. Now I want to make an equivalent fraction that's cut into 15 pieces. So that's what I'm trying to find. What should the numerator be to make this an equivalent fraction to 2/3? So what we'll do is, remember, we're trying to find what number we multiplied the one fraction by to get the other. So I'm going to take on the two that I know, the 15 and the 3, I'm going to take the bottom one, the bigger one, and I'm going to divide it by the smaller one. So this is 3 into 15 goes 5 times, right? It goes evenly. So that means that 5 is the number that I need. I need to multiply this guy by 5 to get 15. So to make it equivalent, I have to do this one by 5. 2 times 5 is 10. So 10/15 is a fraction that's equivalent to the fraction 2/3. Let's do another one. How about 1/5? And I want to make an equivalent fraction if the denominator is 40. What would that be? Again, I'm going to take the larger of the two that I know, the 40, divide it by the smaller one. It goes 8 times 0. So that tells me that the 5 was multiplied by 8 to get 40. So in order to make it equivalent, I have to multiply the top by 8. So that's going to be 8 over 40. So 1/5 and 8/40 are both equivalent. Let's try just one more. Let's try 3/8. I want to find an equivalent fraction to 3/8 that has a numerator of 9. So this time I'm trying to find the denominator. I'm going to do the same thing. Of the two that I know one in each fraction. I'm going to take the bigger one, divide it by the smaller one. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So that means I have to multiply this one by 3 to get 9. And in order to make it equivalent, I have to do the denominator by the same amount. So that's going to be 24. So 3/8 and 9/24 are equivalent fractions. All right, I'm going to do just a couple more, little different ones this time. Now I'm going to start with 6/9. And I want to find an equivalent fraction that has a numerator of 2. And I'm trying to find the denominator. Right. I'm going to do it the same way, right? I know the numerator in both of them, so I'm going to take the larger numerator, divide it by the smaller one, it's going to be 3. But this time, I didn't multiply 6 to get 2, right? I divided it. I'm going from a larger number to a smaller number, so I divided it by 3. 6 divided by 3 was 2. So that means I have to divide the bottom number by 3 as well. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So 6/9 and 2/3 are equivalent fractions. And again, now the difference here between this and the other ones we did, in this one, the numbers in this fraction are larger than these. So instead of multiplying these guys, I have to divide them to get to the number I want. Let's try another one. How about 8/12? And I want to find an equivalent fraction that has a numerator of 2. So again, I know the two numerators, so I'm going to take the larger of the two, divide it by 2. 2 into 8 goes 4, right? 0. So again, now since I'm going from a larger to a smaller number, instead of multiplying by 4, I divided by 4. Since I divided the top by 4, I have to do the bottom. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So 8/12 and 2/3 are equivalent fractions. All right, last one. Suppose I've got 14/16, and I want to find an equivalent fraction that has a numerator of 7 what should the denominator be? And again, in this case, again, I know both numerators. I'm going to take the larger one divided by the smaller one. 14 divided by 7, that's 2. So since I'm going from large to small, instead of multiplying by 2, I divided by 2. So I divided by 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, I got 8. So 14/16 and 7/8 are equivalent fractions. Hope this makes sense. We'll do a lot more practice in class, but that's how you create equivalent fractions. Done.